Love Your Body Fitness is the best online platform. I'll tell you why. We have live coaches that can see you, talk to you, hear you. You can ask them questions. They can correct your form. You don't get that anywhere else. And of course, if you can't make it to the live online class, we do have the recording available for you. So you can do it at any time from anywhere. The other thing that really sets us apart from everybody else is our Crushing Your Goals calls. So that's we figure out why you're here and what you're trying to accomplish and what are the small steps you need to be taking this week and next week to always be walking towards whatever your goals are.
Hi everyone, Coach Bailey here. Today we're talking about our Girevoy sports style lifts. So if you've come to our Sunday kettlebell class at 8:15 a.m., if you haven't yet, come try it out. It's a great way to learn how to use kettlebells, get into some different movements. In our kettlebell strength class on Sundays, we sometimes talk about these Girevoy sport lifts and what they are, how to move through them. They're a little bit different than the style we typically see in our classes. So it's fun to kind of experiment, try something new. Our class style swings, like you've seen in our other swing videos, our how-tos, things like that, they're what we call a hard style swing, where often we keep the knees bent, we explode back up, nice and tall, zippering up through the legs. We're really focusing on power with those swings, not a high repetition, but really focusing on drive that weight up. Our Girevoy sports style is a Russian kettlebell style, Girevoy meaning kettlebell, and it's a competition style where we actually lift for 10 or even sometimes longer, up to 30 or an hour long competition. So in those 10 minutes, I'm not focused on that hard style explosive power swing. I want to focus on how can I move as long as possible and as consistently as possible. So when we look at the difference between the two, say I have my bell here, my hard style swing, that arm's length in front of me, I have my legs bent, I explode upwards, come down, explode upwards, our very classic swing style. For our Girevoy sports style, we want to find any time we can to rest. So when I go through my back hike, I'm actually going to extend the legs, and when I'm at the top, I extend the legs. This gives me time where my legs aren't under tension. I can rest, do my thing. It's really easy to see when we switch to our single arm swing. Now I have that flow, my legs bend with me, and I get all this rest time. So a little introduction to our Girevoy sports style that we go through. Again, we cover it sometimes in our kettlebell strength class. Come check it out, learn how to do these fun lifts. We go through 3 main lifts. So these are the 3 that you do in competitions. Again, 10 minutes total for each. You can even work to a beginner 5-minute level. Our 3 lifts are our kettlebell long cycle, very similar to our clean and jerk, our kettlebell jerk, which is just that up overhead, and then our kettlebell snatch. Pause here. For most of the lifts we do for our Girevoy sports style, you can either do it with 2 bells or 1. The traditional way is with 2 bells, although there are competitions, like I mentioned before, that 30-minute to an hour-long competition where you do 1 arm, you do get to switch your hands as many times as you want, but it is only with a single bell. So as we learn to train into our Girevoy sports style training, looking at things like our jerk, one of the first lifts that we learn, and a nice solid foundation to build off on. So with my 2 bells, I want to think about cleaning them up towards the chest. As I go through my sport clean, everything's the same with my swing. I have that double extension through the back of the legs and then up at the top. And I want to tuck my elbows in nice and tight to my body as I clean those kettlebells up towards my shoulders and tuck in right on the side. When we get to here, this is what we call our rack position. So to set up in rack, I'm going to bring my feet nice stable underneath me. I want to bring my elbows in towards the center of my body and find my hip bones. So I'm really rounding through my upper back to reach down towards my hip bones, towards that stomach, which causes this curve through the top, and then I straighten out my legs, my hips, our pelvis is tilted forward. This is my rack position. We hold this position because I can hang out here. If you've ever held a baby for a while or a little kid, you got them on your hip, holding on. It's a lot more stable than if our arms out to the side. So in my rack, I'm nice close together, my shoulders rounded forward, finding my hip bones. To go into my jerk, similar style to our Olympic lifts or our dumbbell lifts, I'm going to press down into the ground with my knees bending. Notice how my torso goes down and my knees go forward. I'm not leaning forward or leaning backwards. And then I'm going to explode up through my legs, triple extension through my ankles, knees, and hips, land in my catch, and then up to standing. Catch the bells in front of the chest again, back into that rack position. I go again, rep number 2, practicing here. Dip into the legs. I extend up through my ankles, knees, and hips. Catch with my heels down, my knees bent, and then up to standing. then we catch. Bring it down to the shoulders again quickly. We don't want to waste energy, waste time. Again, if I'm going for 10 minutes and I go through my jerk and I'm slowly lowering those weights down, I'm doing a lot more work than I need to. So to see a few fast here, we have our elbows coming in contact with the hips, land, up overhead, catch, land, up overhead, and catch. And then I bring the bells back down to the ground. Pause. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. Pause. Our next lift, looking at our kettlebell long cycle, which is what we call it in the kettlebell sport world, but most people can recognize it as a clean and a jerk pattern. So now we're going through the same sort of repetition. I'm coming up for that clean. I do that jerk, that press up overhead, and then I come back down and repeat the motion. So to see it here, working at a little quicker speed, those bells start in front of me. I have my double bells again. I want to keep the bells close together so they're not flying apart, but they don't have to stay on top of each other. So as I pull through, you might hear a few clangs, but I lean back, pull through on that swing, double clean up to the shoulder. You notice this time I don't move my feet like I did for my jerk because those bells are going to come back down again. So I'm going to go up, that jerk, land, and then my arms come back to the shoulders. I dip down into that clean again, always finding my rack position after that clean up to my shoulder. Good. And we go down and then back up. Amazing. That is our kettlebell long cycle. Pause. I feel like this is going to be a short video. It's okay. Wonderful. So our last exercise, cut that. That was brutal. Good. So our last exercise that we'll go through, one of our main 3 GS sports lifts, is our snatch. 1, 2, you practice snatch with barbells, with dumbbells, kettlebells. They're all slightly different. They have their own unique little bits. Similar to the clean and jerk, but the clean and jerk are a little bit more transferable between different modalities and different equipment. For the kettlebell snatch, instead of that straight pull-up that we're used to with a barbell or with a dumbbell, again, we're working for 10 minutes. If I'm going straight up, straight down, that's a long time of pulling up. Oftentimes in a competition, we call that a survivor snatch, where you're just holding on to that bell, going up and down as much as you can. So when we look at our kettlebell snatch, we'll see it from a few different angles here. I want that bell to start in front of me with the handle perpendicular to the way my feet are planted. So this way I can grab the handle like our one-arm swing, where I have my thumb over the top. I'm right near the edge of it and my hands over top. The biggest thing when we go through our swing is what does our other arm do in the meantime? Because if we're doing 10 minutes, we're ideally trying to do 5 minutes on one side, 5 minutes on the other side, because you only have one switch in between. So my other hand, while I'm swinging, is always going to be moving with my arm that's holding the bell. That's going to help keep my momentum and keep my flow going. It also gives you that little bit extra power. So just like we started with that Girevoy sports style swing where I have that extension in the back, extension at the top, I'm going to go through that, but with my snatch, as I come up in front of me and I find that weightless spot, I want to pull my hand up and catch overhead. If I think about pressing my hand up into the bell, I'm less likely to have that thud, that contact that comes through. And you'll notice too, you want a nice light grip with the kettlebell. Worst thing that's going to happen, the kettlebell is going to go out of your hand. It's going to fall on the ground. As long as you keep your toes, everyone else's toes out of the way, you're okay. So for that snatch, hand goes in front, I swing that extension to the legs, pull, and I push my hand up over top. Swing back through, push my hand up over top, through, and then up. I'm thinking about dropping that bell in front of me. Again, how can I do this the most efficient with the least amount of extra energy? And it's by rolling that bell forward and off. Good. If I start to think more that survivor swing, that's where I'm pulling down and trying to push up. Notice there's a lot more power goes up with that, but I start to lose that control. And then at the top, I want to be able to wave hi to whoever's watching. Thanks for checking out our kettlebell videos. We're going to swing back through. If I start to have that grip too tight, we're no longer waving. Notice I get that thunk at the top every time. Because now I'm forcing that kettlebell to stay in that upright position longer than it wants to. Your elbow bends cause that pain and discomfort. So nice, loose grip. As soon as I get to that weightless spot, if I turn sideways here, it's weightless here, I push my hand through. Find that weightless spot, push my hand through. Same sort of thing to check that is, where's that bell hang out? If I go up to the top, where does it hover before falling down? That's where I want to push my hand through. So if I come back down, trying out the other side, swing through, up, push my hand, up and through. I like to think of it, I am not a very good manual car driver by any means. I'm way out of practice. I've been driving automatic for too long. Your feet have that rhythm of when you're using a clutch and using the gas pedal, where you need to use both feet together to complete one task. So I'm using that kind of shift of my feet as I drop down, my weight is in my right leg, and as I push up, the weight goes into my left leg. Almost like a little dance, going up and down, up and down. My arms moving with me. So to see that full snatch from the front, we're going one arm up and then down. Notice I'm only leaning as far back as I go forward. So I'm not trying to bring my head towards the ground, and I'm not trying to look at the ground. Because when I switch sides, I can do that swing snatch, and then off to the other side, up nice and tall, changing that balance on my feet. Pause. There's lots of interesting things in the world of kettlebell sport, specifically the Girevoy sport style. If you'd like to learn more, come check out our Sunday kettlebell strength classes and leave us notes, reviews. Let us know if you want to see more kettlebell things. We always have lots to go through. And come check out, we do have competitions where some of our members and myself compete throughout the year, and we have lots of fun events. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you again soon.